Welcome back to Monday. This is a weird Monday because it's that Monday that falls between Christmas and New Year's, and I don't know where half of you are. I don't know if you're at home, or if you're at work, or if you checked out, what. And that's the weird thing about what we do, Jared, is we have to ask ourselves, do people listen more when they're off, or do they listen more when they're at work?
That's a good question, and I don't have the answer, but I will after I look at the stats.
I will after this week. Yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of you folks, as part of your daily routine on your way to work, you listen to Student of the Gun Radio. I know some of you probably download it or stream it or whatever and listen to it on your earbuds while you're supposed to be working. And that's cool. We won't tell anybody. But welcome anyway. And we are coming to you from the Silencer Shop Studios, home of the Glass Case of Emotion. SilencerShop.com, the easiest way to buy silencers online. Period. Full stop. That's the end of that sentence. There you go. All right.
Did I tell them last week? Yeah, I think I told them last week about the no fees and stuff when you pick it up.
Yeah, you did.
In Silencer Shop.
Yeah. So that's it. You go there and you thank them and you investigate, and you know that could be a goal for 2016. That could be a 2016 goal. My 2016 goal is to acquire a sound suppressor, a moderator, a muffler for my gun. I need a muffler for my gun to make it quieter. And you know what we're going to do? Not now, Jared, but in the future. We're going to talk about can specifics and what you should buy and recommendations for a first can and so forth. Not necessarily brand specifics, but like style and design. But that'll be for another day. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas. And now it is time for you to move into the Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. So it is, well, what day is it? It's the 27th, right? As we release this, I'm thinking, going to carry the 1, cross over the 10, the 25th, 26th, 27th. No, 28. Wow. Holy crap. Do you know what that means, Jared? It means this month is almost already over again. Damn. Oh, resolutions and goals. Do you have that down for Wednesday? For resolutions, goals?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it this Wednesday.
Goal setting.
And if you guys go watch episode 1 of season 6. And my microphone is definitely, it's on. Okay, cool. I thought it was muted.
My microphone is definitely...
Yeah. So go watch episode 1 of season 6, and I talk a little bit about goals on there in the Fighting Fitness segment, but we're going to dive in a little deeper this Wednesday.
There you go. Dive in deeper. That's always a good thing to do. Well, it is Monday, and because it's Monday, it is our want to do. We're going to have our SWAT Fuel Warrior of the Week. And if you want to be the Warrior of the Week, you're like, who is this Paul Markle, and what is this Warrior of the Week thing about? I just got here, and I'm grumpy. Call 682-207-7684. Or if you have the mobile app on your phone.
I think that they should only be allowed to call if they have the mobile app. So
okay. Yeah,
download the mobile app and click on the Call Us tab, click the Warrior of the Week line, and it'll send you directly to the line. It's on the line.
The line is
where
on
you
the
will
line.
hear Alex's voice, and she will get you ready to actually ask a question.
All right. Well, tell them, remind them real quick what they get and how to get it.
Oh, what you get. You get a free bottle of 9mm plus P from SWAT Fuel. And if you haven't tried that stuff yet, you need to try it. It's awesome. And if you if you are the winner, if we play your question on the radio, then you need to email Alex, ALEX, at studentofthegun.com. Send her your name, your mailing address, your phone number, and include your email typed in the body. And you want to go ahead and get this started now, or do you have something else to say?
Nope. Go ahead and start it.
Idaho. I recently purchased a Pocket 380 as a backup to my daily carry, and when putting it through its first 250 rounds of the range, it had numerous misfires. I've taken it to the gunsmith who polished the burr off the barrel, and it now seems to work fine. So my question is, how many rounds should I put through my gun with no misfires before I can feel confident enough in its reliability to depend on it as a daily carry? Thank you.
Good question.
Lane from Idaho.
Lane from Idaho. Good question.
He's a grad program member.
Yeah, look at that. A lot of people will run into this issue. They'll get a less expensive, or they'll bargain shop for a gun, and maybe even not bargain shop. I mean, there have been $2,000 pistols that don't run, but they'll go out to the range, especially with 380s, and they'll have feeding issues. Now, when you say misfires, I'm going to assume that you meant stoppages, because a misfire is when the primer doesn't go pow and the bullet doesn't launch. And I'm not trying to be semantic, but polishing a burr off of the barrel or chamber I don't think that would cause a misfire. But anyway, 380s can be very, very finicky eaters. And going back into the olden days, in the 80s and 90s, 380s were very finicky eaters, and they weren't that popular because most 380 pistols were either A, almost as big as a full-size 9mm, and so what was the point, or they were horribly unreliable. Well, all that changed over the last decade or so with the explosion of the concealed carry movement. And the explosion of the concealed carry movement brought with it a desire for people to buy pocket guns and concealable guns and so forth. So you've got Kel-Tec and you've got Ruger and you've got Smith & Wesson et al. Who came out with 380 ACP guns. The problem with them is, in order to make them compact so that they're concealable, they have to make them small and lightweight. And the smaller and the lighter weight you make a semi-automatic pistol, the greater chances are that it's not going to cycle properly, or you're going to have cycling problems. Now, to your specific question, how many? I cannot tell you that because it's your life. You know, there are people they'll give you a number. They'll say 200 rounds. The gun needs to cycle 200 rounds without a hiccup before I would rely on it. Well, okay. I mean, it's good to have benchmarks, but you could say to yourself, well, how many rounds am I going to be carrying on a daily basis? And my friend Ed Head, and that is his actual name, from, I don't know if you guys don't know Ed, but from Gunsight, he said, look, I only need my concealed carry, my daily carry pistol, and he carries I believe it's a Commander size 1911. He said, I only need it to fire 15 times in a row before cleaning and working on it. And you're like, 15 times in a row? He's like, yeah, because I carry the gun loaded full, and then I have a spare magazine, so it's either 14, 15, 16. But the number that Ed, I believe, said was, I need this thing to fire 15 times in a row between cleanings. That's all I need. I just need it to be able to fire 15 shots. And you're like, well, in that case, that's actually a pretty good benchmark. What I would say to you with the 380 pistols, what I would say to you regarding the 380 pistols is that, number one, there are some out there that do not like training ammo, because training ammo is not as expensively purchased or expensively manufactured. As a matter of fact, I have a Pocket 380, and some of the brass case training ammo, it doesn't like to cycle. And you're like, well, that's it, throw it in the garbage. Well, no, because the nickel-cased ammunition that I carry on a daily basis for self-defense, I put a couple of boxes of 25, because it's expensive, a couple of boxes of 25 through it, and it cycled every time. So what's more important? Is it more important that my gun cycle the actual, super killer death ammo that I'm going to carry every day, or the inexpensive training stuff that I bought just so I can go to the range? Yeah. So it's a personal thing. I'll tell you this. If you don't feel confident in the gun, don't carry it. Just don't do it. Life is too short and too precious to, bet on a maybe. But guns are machines, and, especially firearms. A firearm is a machine, but then the machine is being fed all different types of fuel. Some of the fuel comes from Russia, and it has really dirty, nasty powder, and it gets fouled up very quickly. Some of the fuel is from Black Hills, and it's very clean and expensive. And some of it is in the middle, like our friends at Cap. Does Cap Arms make 380? I know I'm being an R-tard right now. I'm guessing that they do, but I don't have their website open in front of me. They make very, very clean ammo. Cap Arms does. You know about those guys from our Thursday homeroom discussions. But it's up to you. Do you feel confident with it? And if you don't, ditch the gun and get something else. Now, if you're expecting a firearm to never have a stoppage ever, well, that's just not going to happen. And you're better off learning how to clear the stoppage.
22 LR, 223 Remington, 380 Auto, 9mm Lugo, 40 Luger, 40 S&W, 45 Auto, 308, 300 Blackout, gunpowder, the cleanest burning powder ever.
All right, so the answer is yes. Cap Arms has 380. All right, cool. All right, so I hope that answers your question, Lane. And you're like, well, that wasn't really an answer. I just wanted you to say 100. Okay, 100. If your gun doesn't go 100 rounds without a stoppage, then don't carry it, or 300 or whatever.
All of them.
All of the above.
If it has a stoppage, then yeah.
If it has a stoppage, throw it away. It's no good.
Yeah. Don't ever learn to clear a stoppage, because if your gun has a stoppage, then
what's the point in clearing stoppages? If the gun, my gun never malfunctions.
Yeah.
I'm over. There are people out there that'll say, "I waste all this time on stoppage clearing. My gun doesn't have stoppages." Well, I want that one. Where did you get that one? All right, and some people buy guns that they get a lot of practice clearing stoppages, because that's what the gun does all the time.
Mm-hmm. I'm over here on.
Are you periscoping me?
I'm periscoping some stuff. It's looking at me right now. But for those of you that are not on Periscope, then you need to go follow us. Follow Student of the Gun and PT Jared, because we do both on both channels. So I'm periscoping, and they're hearing the episode early. So
woo!
I don't know how well they can hear you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is
they can hear me pretty well.
Your part. So congratulations. All right, moving right along. Brownells at brownells.com. You can order Frog Lube from brownells.com, and you can order what else? Duracoat from brownells.com, and ammo and parts for your black rifle and all that good stuff. And if you didn't get what you wanted for Christmas, go to brownells.com and get what you wanted. There you go. Frog Lube. Extreme.
I bet they know what you just said. They said, I can't hear Professor at all, and then you did that.
Extreme.
And I bet they know.
Velocity triggers.
Yeah.
Superior quality and value. If you got a black rifle, they got a trigger for you. And yes, you can install it at your own workbench, at your own kitchen table, if you can follow directions. Crossbreed Holsters, the makers of the Super Tuck Deluxe and the Freedom Carry. Super Tuck Deluxe is also known as the
Bruce Jenner Commemorative.
Bruce Jenner Commemorative. All right. I don't have a theme for this next topic, Jared.
Oh, I have to look real quick. Let me see if I have one.
I mean, we kind of should. Now, when you guys started listening to today's episode, a lot of you guys, I know you just push play, or you just like, I don't care what the title is, I'm going to listen. And I got it. But many of you probably read the title and you thought, oh, you rubbed your... It's like the picture of the meme of the little toddler when he's rubbing his hands together. It's like, he almost looks like you know what I'm talking about, right, Jared? It's like, This is how I feel when I find 22 ammo. You know, you're rubbing your hands together like that little munchkin dude on the meme when you saw... Infamous anti-gun sheriff shoots self. And you're probably thinking, Paul is going to crucify this guy. You're like, Paul is really going to hammer this dude to the wall.
I don't really have a theme for this, but I'm going to play this song because I know Kurt likes it. Can I do that?
Sure.
Tiptoe through the window, by the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me.
All right. You're welcome, Kurt. And, you know, that is appropriate because this guy's words have been extremely vag-tastic, and we're going to give you some quotes from this sheriff. Now, the story source is buzzpo.com, And the tag is infamous anti-gun sheriff shoots himself in the hand while cleaning his gun. I'm not sure if I believe that because I don't think sheriffs actually ever clean their guns. Do they? Or don't they just give them to the chief deputy and say, here, make this thing clean? Oh, you're like, oh, come on, Paul. Come on now. All right. Well, what is the story all about? The story comes to us, Dateline, Burlington, Iowa.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Because I've been to, wow, mind blown. I've been to Burlington, Iowa. I worked in Burlington, Iowa.
For a while.
You know why? I was doing the whole bodyguard thing in Burlington, Iowa. But Burlington, Iowa is all the way over on the eastern edge of Iowa, and it borders the Mississippi River. It overlooks the Mississippi River. So, and a cool thing about Burlington, hey, if you want to know a cool thing about Burlington and the Burlington area of Iowa, there is one section of the Mississippi River that it doesn't ever freeze in the winter. For whatever reason, it's being fed by warm springs or what have you. So even in the dead of January and February, when the river's frozen all the way that far up north, there's one section that stays unfrozen. And you know who knows this? Well, who knows that, Paul? Jared, do you know who knows that? Which species of animal?
Eagle.
Eagles, that's right. The American bald eagle, apparently they have a good Twitter network because in the wintertime, all these eagles will flock to the area of the river where it doesn't freeze. I've seen this firsthand. There will be 10, 20, 50 plus eagles at the one section of the river sitting up in the trees. Like, what are all those birds up in their trees? Holy crap, there's 50 eagles. America. That's right. And people travel from all over to see that. And also Snake Alley. So, all right, enough of the Iowa touristy thing. So here we go. The story says, as I scroll back up, a fairly well-known anti-gun sheriff seems to have, like he might not have, shot himself in the hand on Wednesday, this is Wednesday last, while cleaning his firearm. Des Moines County Sheriff Mike Johnstone negligently discharged, thank you, Buzz Poe. Did you hear that, Jared? Buzz Poe, in the second thing, says, negligently discharged. Whew. Thank you.
He looks like he is a comfortable sheriff.
A comfortable sheriff. Negligently discharged a round into his left hand and was subsequently transported to the hospital's emergency room. His injury has been described by medical personnel as non-life-threatening. But a hand surgeon was called in to assist. Well, rightfully so. I mean, that only makes sense. So, but you're like, well, what makes him... Now, you hippies up in Iowa, in that area, you're like, oh, we know about this dude. The rest of the country, you might not know about this dude, but we know about this dude. And according to the Iowa Firearms Coalition, Johnstone has advocated for more and more gun-free zones. But perhaps Johnstone is most well known for his statement from 5 years ago. When Iowa's concealed carry law went from may issue to shall issue, and that's a big difference. That one word is a big difference. Well, you're like, well, what's the difference, Paul, between may and shall? All right, I'll throw you a bone, just in case you're new to the gun culture. May issue means that the state gives the senior law enforcement official or what have you, they give them discretion. So you go to the sheriff and you say, hi, my name's Paul. I would like to have a concealed carry weapons permit. And he says, no, go away. But I'm a citizen in good standing and there's a constitution and all that. And he says, I don't care. Go away. The answer is no. You have no recourse. Go away. That is a may issue state. In a shall issue state, they write the legislation so that it says, unless the senior law enforcement official can come up with or derive a positive reason, an affirmative reason, and they give you the list of reasons, like being a convicted felon, being a rapist, robber, that kind of a thing. being adjudicated to be mentally incompetent. That means a judge sat down, looked at you, and said, yeah, that sucker's crazy. Okay. But unless they can give you that specific and the very cool thing is these legislators know that if you leave it up to some law enforcement officials, like our good sheriff here, Mr. Johnstone, they would just say, no, and I don't have to tell you why, and suck it, peasant. But what they put in the legislation is if you refuse to issue the permit to the person, I know, don't get me about the permission slip thing, I understand it. If you refuse to, you have to notify them within X number of days, and it has to be in writing, and it has to state specifically why you're denying it. So it makes it harder for them to just say no. And also a great thing about shall issue states is the vast majority of them will put into the law that the state shall issue said permit within blank. 45 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever, it just depends. So if you don't get it within that date of time, the state is in the wrong. Like, wow, that's a crazy thing. But let's hear what Sheriff Johnstone had to say with his own lips about peasants being allowed to carry guns. Well, when the state changed the law from may issue to shall issue, Johnstone campaigned diligently against the change. Don't want peasants carrying guns. Only policemen can. Then he predicted, quote, Wild West shootouts. Where have we heard that before? And he called shall issue concealed carry a recipe for disaster. Yes. Well, here we are 5 years later, and Johnstone's Wild West shootouts never happened. Then they never do. The left and the lunatics on the pro-government civilian disarmament side, they always say that. They've been saying that since 20 plus, almost 30 years ago. It might have even been more than 30. I have to check. When Florida did their shall issue permit system, they were screaming and wailing, Wild West, people be killing each other over parking spaces and blood in the streets. And remember that super vag-tastic helmet-haired dude from Hawaii who was all about blood in the streets? Remember that, Jared? We did a thing about the Hawaii guy that he was just all panicked over over peasants having guns, and he used the blood in the streets. It'll be like the Wild West, and there'll be blood in the streets. You don't understand. And nobody ever sticks their hand in the air when these morons say that and say, can you point to one example? Yeah. Fort Hood. Oh, shut up. Don't say Fort Hood because that was a Muslim missionary. Oh, okay. Yeah, but in Boston, shh. That was a bombing and it was Muslim missionaries. There was blood in the streets in California. Shut up. Oh, crap. You mean all the blood in the streets situations when they're not lawful American concealed carry holders, that they're Muslim missionaries and other registered Democrat whack jobs? Oh, that's inconvenient. Jared, is that not inconvenient?
It is an inconvenient truth.
That is an inconvenient truth. You could probably produce a movie and call it that.
That's funny.
Are we all done periscoping?
Yeah, we're done
periscoping.
A while ago, yeah.
Okay, and now you're answering Periscope questions or something?
I'm answering Facebook stuff.
Okay.
And Mookie needed a Rush video edit, but he can't transfer it via internet, so he needs somebody in Tampa, which I don't have. I don't know anybody, so I just posted it on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
By the time you guys hear this, it'll be too late.
Yeah, it'll be too late, so don't worry about it. Calm down. It's too late. There's nothing you can do to that. Here we go. It says, this is funny. It says, well, it's been 5 years and Johnstone's Wild West shootouts never happened. However, there may be some truth to the lawman's statement. If all gun owners were irresponsible enough to negligently shoot themselves, it might have been a recipe for disaster after all. Fortunately, that doesn't happen because most gun owners are trained and responsible.
I don't know if I agree with that statement.
And I'd like to recommend the sheriff take one of those gun safety classes that Iowa concealed carriers have to take by law. Ooh, tss, Feel the burn, Sheriff Johnstone. He might learn something. In the meantime, I'll leave you with a few pointers. And he goes through the...
he did 4 universal
the
safety
universal safety rules. All right. Now, before you guys, you're like, come on, Paul, get him. Having a negligent discharge does not make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you need to be crucified and taken out and have a scarlet N branded on your forehead. Okay. That doesn't make you a bad person. What makes you a bad person is campaigning for the disarmament of the American people. That makes you a bad person. When you are a civil servant, when you are an employee of the people, that is what a sheriff is. The sheriff works for the people. The people don't work for him. When you work for the people and then you actively seek to separate yourself from the people by creating us versus them, and that's exactly what May issue is. It's an us versus them. It's some animals are more equal than others, and you peasants are not anywhere close to being as equal as I am. Ladies and gentlemen, it's people like Mr. Johnstone here that perpetuate the law enforcement us versus them mentality, that perpetuate the class system where, you people you're just not smart enough. You shouldn't have the freedoms. And we need laws that, we need laws that govern the peasantry, and then we need laws that govern or just allow the government, the state employees to do what they want. Folks, I've said it before, but what the heck? I'll go ahead and say it again. If your state legislators, if they produce bills, propose bills, if your governor signs a bill that exempts people who work for the government from the law they just put together, that is tyranny. That is the Reader's Digest simple version. Hey, Paul, I'm not sure what tyranny is. I've never seen tyranny. Well, let me help you recognize it. When the ruling class passes a law that only applies to the peasantry and they exempt themselves from that law, that would be tyranny. Welcome to the party. And people like Mr. Johnstone here apparently think that's a great idea, that only certain people. Folks, do you know how you get folks lined up and pushed onto rail cars? It's because they create a caste system where certain people are more equal than others, where the government employees have more rights than the citizens. Jefferson and Washington and Adams and Hamilton et al. John Jay. Whoop, whoop. Give it up for John Jay. Mad respect. All those people, they knew that system. They knew that the government was wont to exempt itself from the laws that they applied to the peasantry. And they sat down and they wrote a whole bunch of papers and they said, that is not a recipe for independence, liberty, or freedom. No, that's how you set up people to be a subservient peasant class, is when you allow the people that are supposed to be serving them to instead become the ruling class. And so I am not going to beat up Mr. Johnstone for putting a bullet through his left hand, although what I'm going to say is please use Mr. Johnstone as an example. If in the future you feel the desire to point a pistol at your hand, wrap your finger around the bang switch and press, I'm going to ask that you don't do that. I know I ask a lot of you, but I'm saying it's never a good idea. That curvy thing that they put on guns, that curvy thing is designed to make the gun noisy. And if you point that at your palm and you pull the curvy thing back, not always, but every once in a while, it's going to make a noise. And you're probably not going to like the result. I'm just saying. I'm not a scientist, but I'm here to help you. So, and like I said, I'm not going to beat him up for having a negligent discharge. And the one thing that I would like to talk about is the use of the English language. And Alex, can you hear me? Alex can hear me. When an anti-gun politician, and that's what this guy is, shoots themselves in the hand with a gun, is that the definition of irony? Does irony fit there? Or would it be better to call it karma? What, could we call that kismet? Could we call it fate? Could we call it what goes around comes around? I'm searching. I'm sure a lot of you folks out there you've already filed this under karma. You're like, here we go. Karma is a bitch. File 4. I can say that, right? I can say karma is a bitch on the public hour, can I? Jared says yes.
Yeah, you can do that.
Jared says yes. He nodded his head.
Hey, karma is a female dog.
Yeah.
In heat.
And fornicate liberals. Fornicating liberals.
Venture forth and fornicate thyself.
Venture forth and fornicate thyself, Sheriff Johnstone. So before you say something like shall issue is a recipe for disaster and it's going to lead to Wild West shootouts in the street, you might want to take a moment, venture forth and fornicate yourself. Now, the last thing I'm going to tell you is this. Why is Sheriff Johnstone still a sheriff? That's a question. That wasn't a statement. I have a question for you folks in Illinois. I'm sorry. Strike that. Reverse it. The other I state. I have a question for you folks in Iowa, specifically Des Moines County. What the hell is wrong with you? Well, what do you mean what's wrong with us? All right, I have a question for the entire state of Iowa. What the hell is wrong with you? What is going on in Iowa that your state is so full of mush-brain libtards? Why are there, I always thought, when you think Iowa, I think Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri. I think the heartland of America. Cornfields and the Iowa State Fair and people who pull themselves up by their own bootstraps and go out and work a hard day's work and earn their living by the sweat of their brow and go to church and are faithful and da-da-da. You think of that. And then you go to Iowa and you find that Iowa is full of psychotic libtards. Why is that? And why is it that someone who has to run for election every 4 years, who 5 years ago spouted all kinds of anti-constitutional nonsense, and 5 years later, there had to have been an election. Like I said, I'm not a scientist, but I know that if you have 4-year elections, and he said this stuff 5 years ago, that between the time he said it and today, he had to run for re-election, which means the majority of the people in Des Moines County thought, oh, he's an okay guy. I mean, he thinks that state employees are above the law and that the people are a peasant class, but he's an okay guy. What is going on out there? Write me a letter, send me a post, attach a piece of paper to a pigeon and send it down here to Biloxi and let me know just why it is that the great state of Iowa is full of like psychotic libtards. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me.
You know what? Who did that song? Colt 45.
Colt 45?
Yeah, because Iowa.
I don't know what you're saying.
Okay. Well,
Iowa, not Idaho. Not Idaho.
No,
There's I states. There's
Iowa,
Idaho, Indiana,
Afro Man. Yeah.
Afro Man?
Afro Man, because he did something to
a
a nice
Iowa
lady,
song?
and now he owes her.
Wow. Dude.
Because
you're doing bad things to the audience right now. You're
Yeah.
doing bad things to their brains, and you should probably stop doing that. All right, freaks and freakettes. Tomorrow we're going to come back and we're going to talk about stag arms and the hypocrisy of the United States federal government. What? Yeah. And have you ever noticed that they tend to do this stuff right before SHOT Show? Have you noticed that? Do you think it's a coincidence that the ATF will raid gun manufacturers the week before SHOT Show? Yeah, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. There's no deliberate plan there at all. All right, kids, remember, you're a beginner once. You should indeed be a what? a student for life.